we were busy instituting reforms between augurs of illegal drugs and corruption laid low for a while, only to resurface as still with us. And make no mistake about it, corruption is but another term of stealing people's money, dashing in its wake a nation's goals and aspirations. Due to the brilliant programs and excellent work of our economic managers and the extraordinary cooperation between the executive and legislative branches of government, our economy with investor confidence was poised to leapfrog from the company into the company of the world's fastest growing economies until COVID-19 pandemic stalled everything. Be that as it may, allow me this opportunity to extend my personal and the nation's gratitude to all those who selflessly gave their all in the fight against COVID-19, our health workers and other frontliners who risk their own safety. To keep our essential health services and our food supply chain running, to boosting the economy activity and ensure peace and order in our communities.
The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The city government of Manila has enlisted the University of Santo Tomas as a vaccination site for senior citizens and those with comorbidities today. Justine Ponsalang is reporting to us live from UST to give us the latest on this. Justine, good morning. What are you seeing?
Charles, rain is imminent here in the city of Manila. However, those who are lining up to get their jabs have their mindset that they will get the jab, rain or shine. For today's vaccination, the Manila LGU has one site, and it is here at the University of Santo Tomas along España Boulevard. There are only 2,000 doses available, and many people are taking their chances to get immunized. The line went from the entrance of UST, stretching across España Boulevard along P Campus Street, almost reaching the Pitan. The weather is unpredictable as rain briefly fell this morning, but those in line are fine with it. They said that lining up for the vaccination, even if it includes enduring the rain, is worth it. Those in line explained that they wanted to get vaccinated because of the threat of the Delta variant. However, some hoped that the vaccination system in Manila could be improved. They suggested that instead of allowing walk-in vaccinees, by schedule should be adapted. With this, the line should be more manageable and there will be no need to line up early. Charles, for today's vaccination here in UST, it is only for A2 or senior citizens and A3 or those with comorbidities. For the senior citizens, they only need to bring their vaccination, their QR code, as well as their senior citizen IDs. However, for the A3 or those with comorbidities, they need to bring with them their medical certificate indicating their comorbidities or their prescription for their medication. Charles?
Thanks for that, Justine. That was Justine Ponsalang reporting live from UST in Manila. President Rodrigo Duterte is open to imposing stricter lockdowns amid the growing threat of the Delta variant. This as health experts say the number of vaccinated Filipinos is still far too low to prevent another surge. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to the story.
In his last State of the Nation address before Congress, President Duterte raised the possibility of returning to last year's very strict lockdown in response to the growing threat of the more infectious Delta variant.
This is as good as any other time to say it. If says that it is really dangerous, you have to go back to lockdown. If there are many people in other parts of the world killing as many, then Delta, if ever it will spread, we have it here now. I hope it will not go any further. But if something wrong happens, I'll have to be strict. And I have now my word that there will be, just like what happened in the early days.
The country had gone back into lockdowns earlier this year because of a recent surge in COVID-19 infections, but not the same degree as last year's lockdowns, which crippled the economy. But this time, the president said he was open to bringing those lockdowns back as government struggles with the rising number of Delta variant cases. Over the weekend, the country tallied 54 more cases of the Delta variant, said to be much more infectious than the original variants that caused milder lockdowns in March this year. In his SONA speech, the president at times sounded almost resigned to a coming surge because of the Delta variant.
And if it requires a new vaccine, we do not have it yet. I don't know what, maybe we'll just have to pray for salvation. Sabihin natin, Diyos, we have done everything, but this time we are really put hard on these things that happen.
The Octa Research Group, which has been tracking the growth of COVID-19 cases, points out that an early lockdown would be a better pill to swallow than a late lockdown.
An early lockdown is a short lockdown. A late lockdown is a long lockdown. So I'll be honest with you, the government lost control of the pandemic in March and April. I just know that everything was overwhelmed. The contact tracing was overwhelmed. The testing was overwhelmed. The hospitals were overwhelmed.
The research group says Metro Manila is already in the early stages of another surge and agrees that a lockdown is inevitable in the coming weeks. Austriaco says while lockdowns may be necessary, they must also be tweaked in order to really work.
There have been two weaknesses I've observed with lockdowns in the Philippines. One, at times it has been slow. And second, there has not been a financial support of the lockdown.
As of today, 17 million Filipinos have been vaccinated, still far from the 70 million target for herd immunity. Though health experts say this number is still too low to prevent a surge, Father Austriaco says he is impressed with our vaccine rollouts.
And I have been incredibly impressed with the professionalism of the rollout in spite of severe shortage of vaccines.
But during his SONA, the president expressed his disappointment and frustration over some vaccine rollouts undertaken by LGUs. The president singled out a recent vaccination that was done in the midst of floodwaters.
There's already a gymnasium. Mga eskwelahan walang klase ngayon. Bakit hindi mo gamitin doon? Bakit magkakanap ng isang
Still, the president remains optimistic that vaccination numbers will shoot up next month, with some 7 million Filipinos getting fully vaccinated by August.
That is why I implore our countrymen who are now in the list of sectors to be inoculated to get vaccinated now. And to those who received the first doses, please return for your second shot.
I'm Jacob Lazaro and we are One News.
Workers and small business owners were left disappointed after President Duterte delivered his last SONA, as they were hoping to hear more about the government's plan to generate more jobs and livelihood amid the pandemic. Shaila Francisco with a report.
Alberto has been working as a tricycle driver since he was sent home September last year from Riyadh amid the pandemic. What he's earning now is virtually nothing compared to his income as loading bridge operator in a airport. This is why he was hoping that President Duterte will tackle plans for job generation in his last State of the Nation address.
Sana kung bigyan pa kami ng pagkakataon, makabalik kami doon sa pinagtrabahoan namin kumpanya para mabuhay namin yung pamilya namin. Kung kami ng trabaho dito, mas maganda nandito ako sa Pilipinas.
Other workers and business owners have other wish lists, including improved mobility amid curfew, lower prices of goods, and social aid for senior citizens.
Itong COVID na to, napapagod na ako sa kalakad-lakad na sarado lahat mga gate. Talagang namin nagbago ngayong taong.
Kung may pagbabago pa rin ba sa mga presyo na bumaba?
Tutulungan ang mga matatanda. Ay, hindi na ako makakatrabaho.
In his State of the Nation address, President Duterte committed to help the private sector bring back the commercial vibrance of businesses pre-pandemic. He also cited a partnership with the private sector to create 1 million jobs by year-end. He then instructed TESDA to upskill workers and improve their employability. But while the business sector lauded these actions, they were hoping that President Duterte discussed in detail his economic recovery plan amid the pandemic, including how to assist MSMEs.
If we are not able to really deal with the COVID with a good plan, definitely our economic recovery would be derailed.
With the threat of Delta variant in the country, they are also hoping the government is prepared to give aid if needed.
Otherwise, the hardship on the poor is quite unbearable. They are the consumer. Pag wala silang pera, hindi gumagastos. The business, the manufacturers, or the retail businesses will really go down the drain.
For an employers group, President Duterte should have acknowledged the worsening traffic condition and mass transportation issues in the country, especially when he took the opportunity to tout the completion of some flagship projects, including MRT-7 and LRT Line 2 East Extension project that he claimed eased commuters' woes. Duterte also instructed the Public Works Department, Transportation Department, Budget Department, and NEDA to complete flagship projects before his term ends to help disperse economic activity outside Metro Manila.
You can mention all these projects, but pero kung yung what is obvious hindi ina-actionan, parang what is that? Yung mass transportation is not still available. In spite of, whatever you say sa infrastructure, kung talaga obvious na wala sasakyan at hindi makapasok ang mga tao hanggang ngayon, dahil doon, malaking problema yon. Ang dami-dami nilang ginagawang experiment sa jeepney, sa bus, tapos sa bakit hanggang ngayon hindi pa nakakapasok yung mga drivers?
Both groups were satisfied that President Duterte asked Congress to prioritize the passage of Foreign Investments Act, Public Service Act, and Retail Trade Liberalization Law, though acknowledging it may take a while to finalize these bills. As for the bill ending all contractualization, the employers group doubt this will ever see the light of day.
Nagawa na ni Presidente Pangako na ang endo ni Presidente from his mind, na sinabi naman yun ayaw niya ng 555. Yung gusto nilang tatanggalin lahat ng all sorts of contracting does not exist in the whole world. Even ILO does not, because meron talaga yung mga term contract.
While a lot has been lacking in President Duterte's speech according to workers and the business sector, they are still optimistic that the country's economic state will improve in the last remaining months of President Duterte's term. Shaila Francisco, WR1 News.
Meanwhile, the Communist Party of the Philippines says that President Duterte made a false claim regarding the number of NPA surrenderees during last night's SONA. In a statement, CPP Chief Information Officer Marco Valbuena said that Duterte's claim of 17,000 surrenderees directly contradicted the statement of his National Security Advisor. Citing General Hermogenes Esperon, the NPA has supposedly expanded its numbers to 4,000 by the first half of 2021. Speaking with the chiefs, former Ateneo School of Government Dean Tony Lavinia also insisted that the government's fight against communist insurgency is far from over. Lavinia believes that the state has not done enough to address the roots of extremism in the country.
The very idea lang na matatapos yung insurgency in 1 year is just ridiculous, diba? I mean, if you if you talk to LGU people, if you are in the countryside, di ba? I mean, it's a very live insurgency. No? There's a real increase also in armed incidents all over the country. No? I mean, and that's not hindi yan signal of a dying insurgency, to be honest.
Progressive groups were accused of breaching quarantine protocols after staging peaceful protests around Quezon City during SONA Day. Romel Lopez with the details.
Hundreds of activist troops stood the University of the Philippines in Diliman, hours ahead of President Rodrigo Duterte's final State of the Nation address. Among the issues they raised, the administration's alleged failure to address unemployment and hunger, especially during the pandemic. For Gabrielas Arlene Brosas, Duterte barely did anything in his past 5 years in office, even before the COVID-19 crisis.
Kaming ibang inaasahan dahil yung naipakita niya ng 5 taon, sapat na para maghusga ang taong bayan. Nakakasan na.
They also took a swipe at the thousands of killings during the Duterte's bloody war on drugs.
Unacceptable no yung mga nangyari na violations no sa karapatang pantao nitong nakaraang mga taon at dapat hindi na yan magpatuloy.
By lunchtime, protesters went to Batasan, but along Commonwealth they have had a commotion with policemen barricading the area. Metro Manila Police Chief Vicente Danao accused them of occupying most of the road space and causing heavy traffic. Danao said protesters broke health protocols.
We just exercised the maximum tolerance and hindi naman po tayo nagkulang sa pagre-remind sa kanila ng pagsusuot ng basic IATF rules, basic minimum health standards.
In a compromise, the cops allowed the activists to carry on with their pre-SONA program, but this time in Tandang Sora. Danao acknowledged the activists managed to end their demonstration peacefully.
Overall, naging maayos naman po, no? At they ended the rally peacefully naman, and we are very grateful. At least they respected the gentleman's agreement.
Even if activists have already departed, security personnel continued to guard the area for the rest of the afternoon. For News 5, Romel Lopez. We are One News.
More Filipino athletes are set to compete today on Day 5 of the Olympics. Filipino-Japanese judoka Gebbie Watanabe is currently competing against Spain's Cristina Cubana in a round of 32 match in the women's 63-kilogram event. Meanwhile, swimmer Gebbie will represent Team Philippines in Heat 5 of the 100-meter freestyle at 6 p.m. It is a big day for Filipino swimmers, as Remedy Rule is eyeing a spot in the semis in the 200-meter butterfly at 6:33 p.m. Another weightlifter, Ando, is scheduled to compete at 6:50 p.m. in the women's 64-kilo division. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.